handpicked by a professor. So each professor in the history department got to handpick one student that they think exemplified the school. And we operated as representatives for the school. So I was invited to the synagogue in East Lansing as a history scholar to meet a Holocaust survivor. And I met Eva Schloss, who was Anne Frank's best friend. And it was an unbelievable experience. I never would have thought when I started college that you'd catch me senior year crying in a synagogue. It was amazing. I had a great time. She gave the best hug I've ever had from like anybody other than my grandmother. That's reserved for a different portion. But she signed my book. I learned everything I could about her. We got to ask her so many questions. It was amazing. I had a great time. It was so cool. It was, oh my God. But like, and this is gonna sound weird, looking like I do when I'm very Aryan, if you can't tell. I was a lot blonder when I was younger. But looking like I do when I was younger, I would get called all the time. Like all the way through junior high, into high school, people just would call me that. And so I was really scared when they told me that they were, I do still have the book, yeah. I was really scared when they told me they were sending me to the synagogue because I was like, oh my God, they're not gonna like me. They're gonna hate me. I was terrified. And I had the best time. I loved it. Nobody said anything. I was so worried that somebody was gonna say something. Yeah. And I keep it right next to my copy of Anne Frank's diary that I've read at least 40 times. Because they were best friends. She was so funny. She started off the whole speech by saying, yes, I was Anne Frank's best friend, and then tells us that she was really annoying. It was because I read Anne Frank's book 6 times in elementary school, like her diary. I read it 6 times in elementary school, not for class, because I loved it. And I thought it was so fascinating. That should have been my mom's first clue that I was going to be a historian. Or actually, no, I take that back. Does anybody remember those I Can Read, like, readers? I call them readers because I'm a librarian, but do you know those I Can Read books that are like the level 1, level 2, and level 3, and they had like historical context to them? I had the Pompeii one, and I read it until the pages fell out. I shit you not. I still have it, not here, it's at my parents' house, but the pages fell out and my mom had to glue it back together because I was hysterical when I broke that thing. My mom should have known then that I was gonna grow up and be a historian. Because when I tell you I was in love with Pompeii, in love with it. That and the Titanic, those were my 2 hyperfixations as a child. Yeah, it was a problem. Yeah, I actually had a dream about Vesuvius the other day, which was trippy. My dream vacation is to climb Vesuvius. I wrote an entire paper on predicting when Vesuvius was going to erupt next when I was in college. It was very fascinating. And the history of eruptions. I loved it. But yeah, I seriously adored Pompeii. Still do. Herculaneum is a close second, but Pompeii is like, I mean, it's Pompeii. You can't not love it. Yeah, it was a big disastrous infatuation. Why? I don't know. I don't have an explanation. I was a child. What were my grades? Like my GPA in college? I graduated. I was on the dean's list for 7 out of my 8 semesters. Yeah, I did a report on Helen Keller when I was younger. But I was on the dean's list 7 out of 8 of my semesters of undergrad, and my graduating GPA was a 3.78, and my master's degree, my graduating class was a 3.89. So I was pushing it. Could have done better, didn't. Struggled a little bit a couple semesters. But you can tell my voice that I was on the dean's. Is it because I've been told that a boy that I liked one time crushed me, but he told me that I looked like I was 12, but I talked like I was 80, so he could not figure out how old I was. Is it because I talk like a grandma? Is that what it is? Did you see they don't know for sure, they may have found Amelia Earhart's plane. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it makes sense. Unfortunately, that's just... My parents raised us to speak with grace. Yeah. So, like, my dad would correct grammar at the dinner table. It was a very big thing in my household growing up. So both my brother and I speak very, I've been told it's eloquently, but both of us kind of speak properly, because my dad would kick our asses if we didn't speak proper English. I've also been told I ramble, so everything's pretty precise and concise. And a lot more on TikTok live streams, which I know sounds very bizarre, but because everything that I say will get picked over by people who are looking for faults all of the time, I tend to choose my words very carefully, and I speak very concisely to make sure that I am in control of how what I'm saying is being received. Does that make any sense? I hope that makes sense. Because I wish I could joke around with you guys like I used to. But unfortunately, because of people just wanting to bully and cancel people over nothing, I can't make jokes. Watching my words, yeah. Frequently. What are my parents' careers? So my mom was originally a translator. She was originally a translator for a German car company, but in the United States. She lived in Germany for a while. She's American. Both my parents are American, but they speak multiple languages, so I grew up with languages in the house. And so so that's what my mom did. And then when I was in 4th grade, she decided she wanted to be a nurse instead. She was a stay-at-home mom when I was in elementary school. And then she decided she wanted to be a nurse. Hit us out of the left field with that one, because we were like, what the fuck? So she went back to school when I was in 4th grade and graduated 2 years later with her nursing degree, which was insane. She is the most dedicated person I will ever meet on the face of the planet. Also, I don't know how you do 2 children in elementary school, and also be present and also graduate at top of your class as a nurse. That drove me nuts watching her do it. So I don't know how the hell she did that. And my dad has a degree in poli-sci. He has political science major and East European studies. And he actually does not use either one of his degrees. And he is an engineer without an engineering degree. Doesn't make any sense. None of us have been able to quite figure it out, but he is an engineer for Ford Motor Company. Yeah. My little brother grew up annoying as hell. And he is a really amazing chemical engineer. So he works for Marathon Oil. He's an amazing chemical engineer. He is wonderful at his job, very passionate about it. Do I understand any of it? Absolutely not. No. I do speak different languages, yes. I can understand Russian and German enough to get yelled at in them. And I can speak German enough to function in Germany, but not much better than that. Like, I couldn't have a conversation, but I could definitely buy food and, like, ask for directions and go to the bathroom, generally. Yeah. But I'm fluent in, or I used to be fluent. I haven't used it in a long time, but I speak French. I was certified fluent by my university 3 times when I was in